Welcome to 𝐒𝐭𝐮 Expert Sessions. The presentation will begin shortly.
So, Cyndi, tell us a little bit about the strategic planning retreat that you held in 2019, where I heard you develop some pretty lofty goals.
Yes, it's so funny because we look back on that retreat now and we're like, so much came out of that room if you fast forward just a few years later. But early on, really when we almost couldn't afford it on the books to bring everybody to town and get them in a room together. But I just felt like it was important to map out what are our stretch goals, what are, where we know where we were so far. We're just kind of getting a foothold into the travel industry. But I wanted the team to just really dream big. And we talk about getting out of the box, but we're talking about not just getting out of the box, getting out of the country. If nothing was a factor, what would be our biggest dream in terms of how we want to show up and serve in the travel industry in the biggest way possible, knowing our goal was to help people get results and help them grow their travel businesses at these different levels, from aspiring agent all the way to agency owner. So we just started mapping out. We came up with client avatars. We said, okay, we have the aspiring travel agent. We have the travel agent who just got into the industry, but they're struggling. They really need some support to grow. And then that agency owner that just has the heart to lead, but how do I take this further? And we mapped it out. We said, what would the perfect journey look like? And, we had a lot of people in the room who had experience in the industry. I've been doing this for 30 years, but people who had already been through those journeys of their own. And we looked back on our own journey and go, if we could redo it again, what would have saved so much time, so much energy? Let's build the thing that we would have wanted to help us in our growth journey, so we didn't have to waste 5 years and go through that trial and error period that it's taking so many people to get to that success goal. And we mapped it out for each client avatar, and that's how the whole thing started.
That's great. So what made you decide to focus on lofty goals rather than more traditional goals that may be more realistic to achieve?
Yeah, honestly, it came from really being dissatisfied with what was out there in the industry and being disappointed with what was in the industry. And I watched agents getting signed up, right, in these different outfits, some good, some bad. But a lot of them were so frustrated. And as an educator, I'm like, oh, that's so easy. I know all the answers for that. But helping people one by one would take me a million years to train everyone. So, but what I saw, what was happening is a lot of people would sign up, get excited about being a travel agent. But then when they actually got with the company or the whatever, they felt unsupported. They felt like they didn't have the education. They didn't have the skills. They were unprepared to be successful. And I recognize that. So first, from my heartstrings of we need to help these folks, right? But then how do we do it in a way where this could be my life's work? So I think that's where the whole thing started. It came out of seeing that in the industry, recognizing that there was a need, and then getting fired up about it. And if we just want to be complete disruptors in this industry, what does that look like? But disruptors in a good way, right? To help people have more growth and grow.
So I'm curious, what methods did you use to prompt your employees or get them fired up in terms of thinking outside the box? What questions did you pose to them, or how did you facilitate that session?
Yeah, so it was a very bit, we're talking whiteboard session, right? Whiteboard and flip charts, where I come from education and training. So it was putting the flip charts on and saying, hey, you're good at this, you're good at that. And anytime someone said, I don't think that would work, I said, no, we're not doing that today. We're just putting our highest aspirations up. We're just putting those lofty goals, the things that, forget about how we're going to build it. What is it? Doesn't matter if it costs $18 billion to create the thing. Let's just dream a little bit. What would the perfect thing look like? And it's funny when you get that's why doing a session like that, I really feel like in person is so critical for growing companies. We have virtual and we have Zoom, but getting that energy in the room where one person says, what about this? Oh, and if we did that, what about that? And we got so many amazing ideas generated, and it was a phenomenal experience for sure. Everything that we mapped in that room just a few years ago has come to fruition and then some, which at the time it was like, oh, how will we ever do it? We didn't worry about the how. We just worried about like, what is the right thing to do and what would that look and feel like when it's all done? It's kind of like, let's read the last chapter first and then we'll go back and write the book.
That's interesting. So can you tell us any specific goals that were set during that session? Are there any that stick out that you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. So walking into that session, the only program that was operational at the time was Careers on Vacation, which was the one where I was taking newer aspiring agents and helping them create their own brands. That was our first program. It's still our most popular. And, but that was the only one that was operating. So we said, you know what, not everyone can afford that program. What's an entry level one that we could maybe spec out where people can at least get started? They can start selling their commissions, and then when they're ready, they can come to us for the bigger programs. So that's kind of how we started. We kind of said, okay, here's what we have today. What else do we want to kind of put in place and get on the flip charts here? So that's how it all started. And we built out the travel professional training kit that way. We built out the travel agency launch kit. And Wanderlust CEO was one that it was on my heart to build so much, because as an agency owner, that was a hard process to do on your own. And there's no information in the industry on how do I do this? It's like a coveted secret, because if you spent 10 years building your own agency, not everyone is going to be willing to share that information. In fact, it was very held close to the chest, right? But I thought, what if we have a core belief that there's enough abundance for all of us, and we build this thing out and we teach other agency owners the right path? I always tell my students, if I could go back and buy my own program 10 years ago, I would pay 10 times that amount, because it gives them the roadmap to how to be successful. Because in those programs is, I already figured out all the stuff that doesn't work, so they don't have to, it saves them years and years. So that one we spec'd out, like, what would it look like? How many people would we enroll? Like, how would it feel different? And what does the evolution look like? And real quick, I want to add one more thing. The travel professional training kit was born out of that agency one. So what we do with our Wanderlust CEOs, who are that CEO level starting an agency, they are able to leverage our travel professional training kit for their new teams, which allows them to work faster. So that was one of the strategies in that room that we talked about. We said, what's one of the big struggles an agency owner has? They don't know how to train their team. How are they going to keep up a training curriculum? How are they going to stay in compliance if they're hiring contractors when they can't require training? I said, well, we're educators. What if we give them the kits? If they do this program, we will train their people for them as a third party. And that was a genius strategy that our team cooked up, and that is still operational today. Now we're supporting agencies that have anywhere from 15 people on their teams to, we have a few that are in 300 range now for their, so very, very large host agencies that we're supporting, which is exciting.
You said you went into that strategy meeting with basically one product line, right? And you came out with 5. So
we came out with 5. Yep.
How did you pick a time? For your goals, did you pick a time frame for when you needed those up and running, or how did you prioritize those?
Yeah, great question. So I think we looked at like what our clients needed most first. So we were working with so many of the Careers on Vacation students, and they were really saying, wow, I'm ready to be an agency owner. Can you teach me how to do this? So we actually worked on Wanderlust. CEO was our next big launch that we did that. And then for the travel agency launch kit and TPTK, we needed to have the travel professional training kit for the Wanderlust CEO. So those kind of had to happen together. And so I had one team working on that, and then we had the launch kit built out almost at the same time. So we just kind of leveraged our people really well and rolled it out on a schedule that made sense, like one after the other. And we actually rolled Wanderlust CEO, and for our first class, we said, hey, these kits are not going to be ready for 3 months. So I gave my team, that was kind of a risky move, but I knew and trusted my team enough that we can sell these. We can start working with the CEOs to set up their architecture for their agencies. And then the kits rolled out 90 days later. Now they get it from day one, but at the origin, we just put it on a plan. We worked that plan, worked on that schedule, and it worked out beautifully.
So can you talk a little bit about the KPIs that you used to know that you were successful with these strategies? I mean, was it based on number enrolled? Was it based on revenue, or both? Or was it based on a time frame, we're going to have this many by this date? How do you know you're successful, basically? And what
Yeah,
are those
absolutely.
metrics?
Absolutely. So key performance indicators are so critical in our environment. So once we're past launch, I don't like to put too much pressure on my team for launch. Like our goal one is to get it launched, right? And then the measure is, yes, how many did we enroll? We would say, how many can we fit in each class? Can we enroll? Can we get it to like the 80% mark? I would consider that successful for an initial launch. After that, we're going for 100% enrollment. Like, let's sell out the classes, make sure we're having the most success. So one is, yes, are we enrolling and filling the classes and hitting, which means you would be then hitting your revenue goals for that given period or that enrollment cycle. And then the other key performance indicator that's really important is your customer satisfaction surveys, right? So are people having results from your program? So giving them a survey when they are finished with the program. And also we created a community that exists beyond our education where people can check in and let us know how they're doing. We have something called a $1 million sales club. So when people hit their first $1 million in travel sales, they can register. We send them a little prize, but we're able to see, wow, we're so proud of XYZ. We're so proud of all these different clients hitting those numbers. And we're able to go, it's working, right? So that's been a very valuable experience. And we also invite our clients to do case studies. So at the end of the program, or even 6 months or a year after, whenever they want to do it, if they want to come back and share their journey, we do case studies. And that's been really helpful to understand how they're doing, understand what their needs are post-program, and also share with people who are thinking about the program so they can decide if that's the right fit or journey for them to start on as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Cyndi.
Yeah, my pleasure.